Hey, Jim.
Hey,
Hey,
what's up? What's up, iPhone? What?
the world's going to end soon, Jim.
What?
Bad things,
iPhone? Tell me more about that.
bad things are happening, Jim.
That freaks me out. I want to know more. Oh my gosh, iPhone. Now I'm terrified for my children.
The world is ending, Jim. Did you know climate change is going to kill us all? Hey, Jim.
Hey, Andrew.
How's it going?
Well, here we are in the year 2025, and things are really going great like I knew they would.
It's kind of our way of looking into the future.
Is this
Like, as,
manifesting? If I say things are going great,
yeah, exactly.
they will be, right?
Well, yeah, I feel like that could come back and bite you, though.
Uh-huh. Mm.
As long as this gets edited and put out, which is
And
not
I'm,
it's not a guarantee. Anything
yeah, I
can
mean,
happen.
that's like a force of nature situation there. Who knows?
Who knows? But as long as that does happen, we are the future right now.
This must be what it feels like to live in Australia.
Yeah, something like that.
I often wonder, how's today going? Or how's
Yeah,
tomorrow
exactly. How
going?
was today?
Yeah.
How is today going to be? They know, we don't know.
Actually, speaking of time and the time continuum, the relentless march forward in
Well,
time.
and before are you trying to segue to the topic
I was
already?
about to segue, but man, I'll pull it back.
I mean,
I
it's
will
pretty
reel that
interesting.
back.
One of the things we take for granted every day is time,
Mm.
right? But scientists still don't know what it is.
Isn't
And
that
they
a weird
can't
thing?
figure out how it works. And I don't know. I read a book that had a whole chapter about it. And it was highly technical, but basically there was this whole thing about our idea of time. All you have to do is think about it for just a few moments to realize it doesn't make any sense
Mm.
at all. And so we still don't know what it is. We think we know. It seems to be common sense, but it's completely not.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that like when I feel that kind of thinking coming on, I know it's time to watch a YouTube video or something because
Yeah. But people don't understand it. Like who's the guy? Sam Kuypers is the guy.
Sam Kuypers, the guy Sam
And
Kuypers.
yeah, anybody who wants to learn more about time and have your brain rattled and have everything you thought you knew ruined, check him out.
Mm.
That guy's legit. Some people are like, they say a whole bunch of stuff about time, and then when you watch Sam Kuypers, you realize like, I don't know. I think he does YouTube videos.
Hmm.
Can't remember.
One thing that I like about our system of tracking time is it's the one time in my life that I ever think in base 12, which also bends my brain around a bit.
Who came up with that? I don't know. But
Who knows? I think somebody does know actually, but I can't remember now. It's like the Babylonians or something like that.
the Babylonians.
I think that actually there's at least a theory that it's really biology, that if you use a system for counting that uses your hands, you would think 10, we think base 10, 10 digits kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But there's this idea that if I instead use my thumb as the pointer and my knuckles as the units, and then this hand for sets of units, then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's one set,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
And 5 sets of 12, 60.
Well, and 2 sets of 12 is 24.
It's 24, exactly. So all of that, it functions really well for counting time. And so then it's like, well, if you're using that to count your bushels of grain and everything, then your whole world is base 12. And it's just as intuitive because it's right here on your hands as
Yeah.
simple 10.
Jim, you are an enigma.
Woo!
That makes complete sense. Well, okay, now try and segue that, punk.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
had one segue in me and it's gone. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Speaking of time, that's the segue and it's still there.
Speaking of what we think time is.
Yeah, speaking of what the way we think of time, here is a really cool graph that
Without digging into what time means too deeply, I'm still trying to derail your segue into today's
surface level, really surface level.
Whatever you do not think about time too much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like you tell yourself not to think about it, you will. So instead, let's distract you.
I don't know why. I think it's like a trolling gene. I think I have it. Not only am I trying to irritate you, but I'm trying to irritate the audience too. I think it's working.
It's like some people would sabotage their enemies, but it takes a special kind of person to sabotage their own product.
I know. I just can't explain why I enjoy it so much. I think it's because I know what you're thinking, audience, that you wish I'd move on and get off this. And it's really annoying. Fun. But I don't want to do what you say. It's the thing that I can't stand when my children do. They just don't want to do what someone else says. Right?
Yeah.
It's that. It's very, very childlike, but it's stuck with me these 40 years.
Well, I can relate to that. My wife and I chuckle about how often she'll ask me to do something from the other room. Will you start setting the table for dinner or whatever it is? And I'm already doing it. And then I'm like,
ooh, that's the worst.
I already was. And now that you asked me to, I don't want
wanna
to
do it
anymore.
Yeah. Man, that's a great point. Nothing could be worse.
Yeah, it's so hard. But speaking of being childish, I was a child in the 90s. In the
Again.
1990s, and
Yes.
I'm sure I had a windbreaker, maybe some sneakers, a hat, lots of items that really looked not unlike this graph.
Okay, nice. I like that alternative segue.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna let you have the time one.
Yeah, that was too simple. Though, speaking of time, that's the way this graph works. Across the bottom, we have time, and the y-axis is, what would it be, like, how
Number of
many
things.
tasks you're doing?
Yeah, how many
Number of
tasks
things.
you're doing simultaneously. This is not a scientific graph, though. This is just for a laugh.
It is an artistic graph, though. I think it's beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And this is part of our Commandments series. This is Commandment number 4.
4. Yeah.
Thou shalt reject multitasking.
Yes, reject it, Jim.
And I see the wisdom in that. We mentioned this in Finding Bagpipe Freedom as well. I get it. And I've heard the podcasters talking about how your brain can't really multitask, all this kind of stuff. I get it. But I can't get away from it, Andrew. It seems to be a part of my daily life that I'm constantly trying to do more than one thing.
Yeah, it's a bizarre double-edged sword. Yeah. Because I can get away from it from time to time. But the other side is you become extremely irritated and upset
Yeah.
when things infringe on your focus.
Absolutely. It's almost like physically painful to be pulled away from what you're focused in on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm like a dog eating the dog food. You know how like you're not supposed to touch the dog when they're eating?
Yeah.
I'm like that. When I'm focused, I don't want people to be near me. I want people to be talking. I can't handle it.
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. It carries over like when I'm trying to sleep, the slightest noise sends me into a temper tantrum.
Interesting. It's noise for you. It's light for me. I've always needed complete darkness, and I seem to be very sensitive to light changes when I'm asleep.
I don't know if it's specifically related to the multitasking problem or not, but yeah, you shouldn't do it. Is it worth going through this graph, or should people just look at it and enjoy it?
It's probably pretty straightforward. I mean, there's something to like the beautiful chaos of it. But yeah,
I mean, it's funny because it's very poignant. The number of things you can actually do at one time is basically one thing. Well, and I think we should amend that. It's the number of things you can do well, right? And it turns out there's not that many things that we want to do that don't need to get done well. You know what I mean? Even doing the dishes. I mean, you don't want to do a medium job doing the dishes, do you?
No,
That's
sir.
gross.
No.
But then some of these other things I really enjoy. Self-ridicule for not getting anything done is always high. It's always high.
I love it. That's like standard. It's flatlined, but it's way up there.
Yeah. It's a flat line. And then time spent scrolling instead of working. It appears as time passes, more time gets spent scrolling instead of working, instead of less, which is what would be needed to solve the problem, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then as time passes, you're also increasing the number of things you're trying to do at one time, probably because you haven't gotten anything done yet.
Yeah, it's stacking up.
It keeps stacking up, and that leads to insanity. And then productivity is an inverse exponential curve.
Yeah, pretty quick nosedive from productivity there.
But then anxiety, complete opposite. Anxiety just kind of, it's off the charts early in the process.
Yeah, very early. We hit 4 tasks and we're already off the chart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the other stagnant thing that stays the same all the way across is number of things I can actually do at one time. Even when I'm trying to do 10 things, I still can actually only do one.
By the way, it's not totally true, right? I mean, I think one of the things about multitasking is we've got to think it all the way through, because you can do multiple things at the same time. For example, can you drive your car well while having a conversation with someone in the car? It can be done. But here's another question for anyone who drives a car regularly. What happens to the quality of your driving the more intense the conversation gets? Let's say you start to have an argument, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're telling jokes or laughing really hard. Ever notice that your driving gets ploppier?
It does, yes.
It does, which is too bad. And then obviously that's the main reason they tell you not to use your cell phone when you drive.
It's interesting too that a lot of us, whether we're listening to music or an audiobook or a podcast or something, when that winter blizzard blows in and it gets hard to see and
turn off the radio, right?
You turn it off. You at least turn it down.
Yeah, that's right. It infringes on your bandwidth, which I think we'll talk probably, or maybe this is the one where we talk about bandwidth, but I feel like there's other ones.
Yeah, it does come up in this one, but it might come up in others too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it infringes on your bandwidth for sure, right? But I guess my point is basic driving, we've usually learned it to a state of really high competence. So it's really kind of on autopilot. And we're going to talk about that more in another one of the commandments, I think. But it really is on autopilot, so you can do other stuff. The other thing that comes to mind for me is when I do the dishes, I can usually turn on an audiobook or a podcast and I can get both done. I can soak in what the podcast is saying and I can do the dishes at the same time. It must be the process of doing the dishes. It can handle some low-level information processing simultaneously. So it is possible to do more than one thing at a time. But then here's the next question. If I wasn't doing the dishes, would I retain more of the podcast?
I think for sure.
Yes, for sure. And vice versa. If I wasn't listening to the podcast, would I be able to do the dishes better, more efficiently?
Yeah.
The answer is definitely yes.
Probably faster and more thoroughly. Probably both things.
And I'm willing to take the hit, right? So I'm willing for the dishes to take an extra minute or two because I can also do something enjoyable at the same time. Like for me, I'm kind of willing to do that. Mowing the lawn is another great example. I find when I switch from mowing to weed whacking, I have to turn off my audiobook because I find that by the time I'm done weed whacking, I just lost 8 minutes of content I wasn't really able to focus on.
Oh, because you're more focused on it. I got
like the weed whacking, it just, for me, it's not autopilot. Lawnmower is just, you just walk back and forth. That's all lawn mowing really is. But then weed whacking is different for some reason. I think you're searching for the spots that you need to hit.
Contouring around things.
Yeah, you're trying not to hit anything with the weed whacker that you don't want to hit because you're kind of close to the edge. And so it takes a lot more detail. And it's fascinating to me how I really have to turn off whatever I'm listening to because I'm not getting it anymore.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I have had the experience a few times of consuming a book in audiobook form and then reading it with my eyeballs at another time. And I don't know, that one's tricky because it's like anything that you consume more than once, of course, you're going to get more things out of it the second time around.
Yeah.
And so that's probably an element here. But it's like, well, if I'm reading it with my eyes, I'm really only doing that. And I do feel like I retain more that way, probably because.
I'm the other way. I retain more listening than I do reading.
Well, what I wonder is that like, it's maybe not because of the difference between eyes and ears. It's maybe because of the difference of when I was listening, I was always doing something else at the same time.
That's a really interesting point. And I think you're right. It would be tough to prove it. Here's something that's definitely true. Have you ever listened and read the book simultaneously?
I've never tried it. I know that it's a thing you can do, but I've never tried it yet.
Oh man, it ends up being like this completely immersive experience and I highly recommend it. And your focus and your retention and the quality of what you're reading skyrockets. By the way, sometimes you can speed up the tape. So sometimes the person reading the book is relative to your reading speed too slow. So I usually sneak it up a couple notches speed-wise, and then you're just like, you're in this book. And the audiobook takes over from like your inner consciousness that's reading the words to you.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
I think I will try that at some point.
Highly recommended.
But then, Andrew, how does this relate to my bagpiping?
Yeah, how does it relate to your bagpiping?
I mean, one thing that we have talked about before that might be on listeners' minds already is playing the bagpipes is inherently, is that the right word? It is notoriously perhaps, maybe what's the infamously perhaps?
Infamously.
It is multitasking. I can't get away from multitasking when I'm playing the bagpipes. That's built in.
That's right. And we know this from Finding Bagpipe Freedom, and we went through it. Right? We went through it in quite a bit of depth in Finding Bagpipe Freedom. It's like, what other instrument can you name where we're simultaneously having to juggle 10 actions at a time? And in all instruments, you have to juggle several, but 10 is a lot, bro.
Yeah.
If you play the piano or the organ, all 4 of your limbs are involved. And it would be interesting. I mean, I'm not a keyboard-based instrumentalist at all. So I don't really know how I would break that down, but I would be surprised if it came out to 10 things that you had to manage simultaneously. There are elements that you have to break down and be willing and able to work with, but I'm not sure there's 10. The bagpipe is a juggling act like no other instrument.
I think there'd be plenty of room for people to argue it a different way. But for me personally, as a person who does play organ, I feel like, at least as you get comfortable, what I feel like the way that, at least in my head, the way it breaks down is things more than what things am I playing more than which limbs or fingers are being used. And so
Right.
it's like, well, I've got the great board and the swell, and I've got the feet down below. And for me personally, it's not even like there are two things going on with the right hand and left hand. That's one thing. The hands are working together, and then the feet are working together. For me, organ is two things. That's just me. And so
but
it's
there's
fewer
probably
things.
other things too, right? I mean, for example, we talk about how to, and even how to navigate the scale cleanly. That's a subsystem in our minds that we have to somehow be able to manage. When you play a keyboard instrument, you don't have to worry about crossing noises. Like, you're not going to have a crossing noise from A to C. Like, the notes might overlap, and there might be some sort of system in there. There might be an articulation, or like a system talking about the style of what style you're going to play the note, I suppose. Obviously, rhythmic accuracy is still going to be a thing. And so we have to be able to manage that. I suppose it depends. If you're sight reading, obviously that would be a huge thing. And if you're not sight reading, then you're going to have to start to understand chord structures and chord progressions and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be hard either way, but man, bagpiping is wild. Rhythmic accuracy, scale navigation, grace note system. Then we've got all the steady blowing systems. We've got all the tuning systems.
Yeah, it's a lot to manage all at once.
We've got the embellishment system. There's a lot.
Now, I do feel like maybe, and I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe like that is a conversation on its own. And maybe the focus of this commandment is more like, when it's time to do bagpipe stuff, just do bagpipe stuff. Don't try to do other stuff.
Well, I think it goes in a lot of different directions, but we could start there. Yeah. When it's time to do bagpipe stuff, you got to do bagpipe stuff. Want to start there?
Yeah, there's a part here that I really like where you kind of share some personal experience in the course. And maybe this helps us to dive into that bit. You said, I vouch for this from personal experience. Many of my students, this is you talking, many of my students, when they commit to shutting down distractions or shutting out distractions, find within just a few days that their enthusiasm for piping is reborn like a phoenix rising from the ashes of multitasking.
Yeah.
And I feel like that
sounds
part's
like
important.
Camille, doesn't it? Or maybe it is me. I don't know. I can't remember.
But I like the idea, like so many things that come up in these conversations, Andrew, that for me personally, I do feel very busy. And so when I get this message, like, you need to stop doing multiple things, you need to just do one thing at a time, I'm like, whoa, I definitely don't have time for that. And then this seems to give me this promise that, like, it's not only going to make you like more effective when you sit down to practice or to play, your enthusiasm for bagpiping will increase. That's attractive. That sounds really good.
Yeah. And it's really true. And by the way, it's closely related to my recommendation to all pipers that your practice session needs to be very short. Okay? Because your practice session also needs to be completely focused, and you need to not be doing anything else. And so it's way better to have a 5-minute practice session with no distractions than it would be to have you name a number of minutes, a 30-minute practice session with all the distractions not actually turned off. It's a big problem for me too. I try to keep this studio in here as distraction free as possible, but you got to turn the computer off or turn the Wi-Fi off or something, because there's always that distraction. And then there's always that annoying cell phone, right? By the way, your metronome's on the cell phone, your bagpipe tuner's on the cell phone. You ever find yourself interested in turning on the metronome, but then you check 5 text messages first?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is multitasking. That's distraction. That's going to derail your process completely. It's part of the reason why you should have a standalone metronome that's not hooked up to the damn phone. Once you're in the zone, it's extremely awesome and enjoyable. And you might not be able to stay in the zone for that long because we have wild and crazy lives. So keep practice sessions short, but like actually protect your focus.
Well, and speaking of that, in this course, you suggest we even zoom in closer to that. So it's like, shut out distractions when it's bagpipe time. But then you also say, we also need to extend our righteous disdain for multitasking to the things that we're attempting to achieve during practice.
Amen, Jim.
So it's like, even when we get tight into practice, if I'm going to work on my tackums, I shouldn't be going tackum, doubling, right?
Yes.
That's all finger work. It's also tackum, steady blowing, right? Whatever it is, focus on it.
Yes, exactly. Teachers, bagpipe teachers and mentors are horrendously bad about this too. Like, have you ever gotten a score sheet with a whole laundry list of stuff or a stream of consciousness spewing from a judge?
Oh, aren't they all? I thought that was like the
No.
standard format.
No, they're not
I'm
all
just
like that.
kidding.
And I try really hard because you have to find the singular most important thing, and then you want to focus on that thing because you only have time for one thing if you want your session to be productive. You only have time for one thing. Okay, and then look, maybe two things. If you have lots of time that day, or if you're particularly good at focusing or something, you might have time for a second thing. But really, it's got to be one thing. And at least until you've made some progress on that one thing, you don't want to switch away from it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it really can only be one thing. The score sheet should make it really clear what that one thing is. And when you teach a bagpipe lesson, it should be really clear what the one thing is. And then there might be a couple of secondary things that you mention, right? But one of the biggest problems is stream of consciousness teaching as well. Hey, like, Jim, your embellishments weren't very good and you had a bunch of crossing noises and the rhythm wasn't quite there and your bagpipes weren't really in tune and you were kind of blowing unsteadily and you weren't really at the sweet spot, Jim, and your doublings are kind of crushed, especially the D throws.
Yeah, I felt it, Andrew. As I was trying to imagine being that student, I felt it go from, oh, okay, I'll work on that, to, ugh.
Yeah.
I'm not going to work on anything. It's too much.
And that's what leads to like pointless, stupid practice syndrome where we just end up doing reps. And there is a time and a place to do reps, but that's usually in the finishing stages. It's, okay, I've worked on my tunes for 9 months. And now, like, it's in competition season where I have a competition like every couple of weeks. Okay, there's going to be a lot of reps involved in those practice sessions, I think. Right?
Yeah, that makes.
But there shouldn't be a lot of reps involved early in the developmental process because that's when you're like getting into things, improving things, working on things. You want things to, and we need to know specifically what the number one biggest priority is to think about. And then we want to think about that single thing. And it all has to do with the fact that once we start thinking about more than one thing, all of our bandwidth and all of our potential, the potential yield keeps getting divided. It's just math, right? It's just math. When you're focusing on one thing, you can get a potential yield of, let's call it 100, right? Like, I can get a potential yield of 100 in today's practice session if I focus on one thing. If I focus on two things, the potential is only 50 for each.
Yeah.
And they don't add together because they're not the same thing. So like your gain was only 50, and then now you do 3 things. Now it's 33. Now you're doing 4 things. And then a lot of those things that you're doing sometimes don't even have anything to do with piping. Like your dog is hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, my dog's hungry. So now my practice session, I guess I'll stop now and go feed the dog. Oh, we're low on dog food. Oh, I better add that to the list.
Right.
Oh, crap. Where'd the list go? It was on the fridge. Oh, no, I got moved to the counter because the magnet gave out on the fridge. It's in the counter. Okay. Ooh, there's no pen in the junk drawer. Where'd the pen go?
Classic. And the junk drawer is squeaky when I open it, so I'll go get some WD-40.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's never. I'm okay with.
So then someone walks in and sees you spraying the drawer with WD-40, and they say, "What are you doing?" You say, "I'm practicing my bagpipes." That's the joke.
Yeah, that is the joke. But and of course, it's not a joke. It's very real.
Yeah.
We've already gone way, even before the WD-40. We've already made it to the point where, when we go back, if we go back to the practice room, we will be completely at square one again.
Yeah. It's like, well, now where was I? Not to mention the instrument getting cold and stuff like that.
Not to mention that.
Yeah. This does make me think of, like, I tend to be like task list. Task lists are useful to me, so I don't have to carry the thing around in my head.
For sure. You don't have to carry it around in your head, right? Which, by the way, is multitasking.
Yeah.
Whenever you carry
all these things.
Yeah. Whenever you carry all these things in your head that you have to do, if you're carrying it in your head, that's multitasking. So a task list is huge. And the other thing that's great about a task list is you can look at one thing on the list and do that thing.
Yes. And that's where I end up in work and in my personal life, where my task lists sometimes get silly long, like to the point where one of the task items might be complete this task list. You know what I mean? And there's a strategy, you might call it a strategy or a tactic, that I've seen come up in a couple different sort of like note-taking systems that basically is like, take tomorrow or take this afternoon or whatever it is and make a plan for what a great version of that day would be, which is, I'm going to accomplish this one thing. What's the most important thing?
Yeah.
And from there, you can also have, what would a good version look like? What would a mediocre version look like? Stuff like that, right? But it helps me at least to prioritize and say, like, if I only get one thing done, what thing do I want that to be? And then I
You
feel
wanna know
good
how many
afterward.
you wanna know how many things are on my to-do list right now?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, we might have to edit this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does it say how many there are? It doesn't. Oh, it does. 5 plus 45 is 50, plus 15 is
65,
65, plus 4
69,
plus 11,
78. Nope, sorry, 80,
80, plus 3.
83.
And by the way, this isn't even counting the Dojo task list, which looks like it has 100 things on it. What do we have? Let's just call it like there's 100 things on my to-do list.
Oh, that was 100. That was over 180 things on your
Well,
to-do
if you
list.
count the Dojo, if you count that stuff we do as a team, but yeah, some of those are my actions, but they would have been in that original list. So let's call it like 100. By the way, that's not even really true.
So then let's say you have a 12-hour day ahead of you and you're like, I'm going to get my whole list done. You need to get 8.3 items done every hour. So that would be, you got to be accomplishing one thing off your task list every 7.5 minutes, and there are no bathroom breaks.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reality is 100 things are not going to get done, right? I had to be able to pick the one thing. So a lot of these tasks, I'm waiting for someone else to get back to me before I can continue on the task.
Sure. Yeah.
So that automatically moves to a waiting for list for me. And I also have tasks that cannot or should not be done until a later date. So that's in a deferment list where I'm not really going to think about that today because there's nothing I can do about it today, right? So it actually gets off my focus. And then, my list had about 100 things. I've got 4 things that need to get done fairly urgently.
Sounds more manageable.
You're right. I've got 4 things that really need to get done today. And then I've got 11 things that really need to get done soon. And I've sorted through the rest of the things, which will pop up later as they need to get done. And I'll go through my waiting for list and see if there are any updates on a fairly regular basis. But I have an organization there because it's directly related to the multitasking problem. There's no way you could get anything done if you were thinking about all 100 things. When it's time to play bagpipes, it's time to play bagpipes, right? Put the phone in a drawer. Get rid of the phone. That's the number one tip. Get rid of your computer and your phone. Get it out of your bagpipe practice life. And I get it. I'm there. I have all the apps, guys. I have them all. I have the metronome. I have the fancy bagpipe tuner apps. And it's amazing that it's all on your phone, but it's also extremely treacherous because it's going to distract you, man. It's going to distract you. Your whole life is on that phone. I love the phone. I love phones. Phones are great. I'm a huge fan. I think the phone is one of the greatest inventions in human history. You know what I'm talking about. It's not really a phone. The miniature computer.
The tiny computer, yeah.
It's like 150,000 times more powerful than the computers that sent us to the moon, right?
Yeah.
Like this amazing miniature computer that fits in your pocket is one of the greatest inventions of human history, but it could be really distracting. Just think about it. What do we hate about the phone, right? The number one thing we all hate about the phone, whether or not you have the words for it, is it forces us to constantly multitask all the time.
Yeah,
or
it's always
it definitely
distracting us.
encourages it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, I'm doing something, ding. Oh, what was that ding? Now, whatever you were focusing on, it might have been bagpiping, it might have been your kids, it might have been something else. Suddenly, your mind is, what was that ding?
Yeah.
The phone needs to be on do not disturb mode. I need to chuck it in the drawer so you can focus on the thing. Can we talk about the other thing that jumps into my mind there?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Sometimes we embrace multitasking because the thing that we need to focus on is something that we really don't want to do.
Yeah. That's everyday life for me, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Like in everything.
But it's sad. And the reason you don't want to do it is because that thing is hard to do. So I think this is procrastination. We're getting into what procrastination is. But like the thing that you want to do isn't really that, or is really difficult to do, or it's not any fun.
Yeah, that's
or both.
The difficult thing often for me is the tediousness of the thing. It's I don't want to do that. It's very boring.
Yeah, it's usually a lie though. It's usually a lie that you tell yourself like, oh, it's so tedious to do this task. What I usually find is the first 5 minutes are just hard. It's the 0 to 1 problem, right?
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes are just hard. You got to get organized. You got to start putting your thoughts down on paper. But then after that, it's fun AF, Jim.
Yeah. You can get into the zone and just roll along with something.
Yep. Bagpiping, by the way, is a great example. The first 5 minutes of bagpiping is rough.
Yeah.
get the pipes out. Your body doesn't feel good yet. You're not warmed
Instrument
up.
doesn't sound good yet.
You're stiff. The instrument isn't going well yet. There's not any moisture in it. Things aren't stable yet. And by the way, your body, have I mentioned, your body doesn't feel good. And then you have that gross, disgusting feeling of that sweat film.
Not all of us, I think, but yeah.
No, everyone sweats when they pipe.
Yeah.
Jim, I don't know if you knew this. It's a scientific fact.
You're right.
Newton discovered it right after he discovered the whole Apple thing. Is that when you play bagpipes, everybody sweats. And it's not necessarily pouring sweat, depends. But there's always that nasty sweat film.
Yeah.
Folks, it's just a thing. But anyway, it's gross. And I actually really, really strongly dislike the first few minutes of playing.
But you know it gets better, so you persevere.
Especially if it's like hard read season, like for the band.
Yeah, that's extra hard.
But once you get over that hump, bagpiping is often, but not always, a ton of fun. It's not always. Sometimes you just have a bad practice session and it's just not that fun. But man, it's like almost always fun once you're going.
It's a good point. Like, how often am I somewhat resistant to starting, but then don't want to stop?
Exactly.
At the other end, you want it to keep going forever.
Any project is like that. Any project, anything difficult. Yeah, it is hard to get started, but it's like super worth it. Yeah. Anyway, turning off the distractions. Yeah. Because you might never get past it, right? You might never get past the hump if your distractions are on.
Absolutely.
And then do we weave this tangled web on purpose so that we never have to confront anything hard?
I do. I don't know if everybody does, but I definitely see that in myself.
Yep. It's a rut that we have to get out of. Highly recommend putting the phone away. It's a great way to get out of a rut. Just put the phone away.
I don't, this, I'll probably, I may well edit this out, but it's interesting. I was 5 minutes late this morning, Andrew. And part of the reason for that is that I have started putting my phone in another room at night and using a different device for my alarm clock in the morning.
Yes.
And my brain isn't used to hearing this different sound to wake up to yet. It'll get there. But it's because I found that my mornings, what time I did have in the morning, just kept disappearing. Because I would pick up my phone to turn off the alarm, and there are all the notifications that have come in during the night.
Yes. I have the exact same problem. Yeah. What I do is lately, and I know I shouldn't do it, but I do it. I'm a snoozer.
Yeah.
I set the alarm clock a little bit early so that I get a lot of snoozes.
Yeah, because they feel so good.
Because I have no discipline, and I really have trouble dragging my butt out of bed these days.
Yeah.
I think part of it's the cold weather, like it's so warm under the covers. I don't have anything super urgent that I'm working on. I can be an early riser when I'm working on something.
Yeah, but it's hard to get up early just to see what you can get done. If you don't have a clear path, that can be. Yeah.
The other thing is the kids are getting older and they stay up later now. Like you can put them to bed at bedtime. Like, it's bedtime. And we do have bedtimes in the Douglas house. We do have a bedtime, but I don't know. They're older. So at bedtime, we allow them to read books and stuff if they're not ready to go to sleep yet. But they end up just awake for hours. And I don't know about you, Jim, but I don't sleep well unless I know my kids are asleep.
Oh, yeah. I've got to be able to do the rounds and make sure everybody's sleeping peacefully before I can go to sleep. Yeah.
Yep. Same here. So I guess I've just been staying up later too. So it's harder to get up in the morning. But I'm a snoozer. And then when I finally decide it's time to get out of bed, I'm the same. I grab the phone and it's like, ooh. And what do they call it on the iPhone now? It's called the scheduled summary. And I have all these beautiful things in my scheduled summary now. Like Ryan Holiday or whatever. Oh, an amazing Stoic quote. What is it today? Yes. Stoicism. So great. And then it's like, what? That happened? By the way, fun fact, I turned off all the news on my phone. I do not allow any news on my phone.
I'm with you there. Yeah. Browsers as well. But
it's really hard to turn off Apple News. Oh my gosh. It took me like hours to figure out how to finally just get it out of here. I don't want your damn Apple News.
Yeah. Even stocks is hard to turn off with Apple stuff. And that's weird to me.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hey.
What's
up, iPhone? What?
The world's going to end soon, Jim.
What? iPhone? Tell me more about that.
Bad things are happening, Jim.
That freaks me out. I want to know more.
The world is ending, Jim. Did you know climate change is going to kill us all? And it might, right? But how does that benefit us?
I don't need that first thing in the morning.
All the time. Constantly. It doesn't benefit us to think about that constantly. Does it benefit us to think about that? Jury's still out. Everyone has opinions. Cool. I dig it, but not all the time.
Gets exhausting.
The presidential election is, of course, the worst example ever of that nonsense. It's like, something terrible happened in the presidential election. And it's like
Yeah.
the person from your team just did something awful. And the person from the other team just did something great. And you're like, oh my God, the world's ending. And then it's like, wait a minute, we've had a lot of these things, these president things. And it doesn't benefit us right now to be constantly stressed out and thinking about this. You know what I'm saying? Like the news had to
Totally.
go. By the
Yeah.
way, it seems I guess we're definitely on the edge of constantly being off topic this episode, but I think it's illustrative of the dangers of multitasking.
Yeah. We're doing this on purpose to provide an object lesson built into
I
the
mean, we're
episode.
definitely illustrating how easily it happens. But no, it is the same. Had to get rid of the news on my phone, right? I also have the Freedom app.
I've heard of that. Is that it like turns your phone into a brick for a little bit?
Yep, exactly. And you set it up the way that you want, but like at 9:45, I actually get a window of time where I can do my social media. That's what's cool about the Freedom app. It's
Yeah,
like
that's smart.
I've run a business, like that's the biggest problem. If I worked at a bank or something, I could literally live without all these apps. But I kind of like need social media apps to run my business. And it is nice to see what people are up to.
Yeah.
So I have tightly curated social media stuff. And then I'm back on the Freedom app now. I tried it a long time ago. It wasn't really ready for prime time. I'm kind of liking it now. Like when the school bus gets home with the kids, right whenever that time is 3:45, that turns off all my stuff. Like I can only use my phone for the basics. Because I was finding like the kids would get home from school and then you should be spending time with your kids.
Totally.
In between when I like conceptually, right? God forbid. Yeah. You should be spending time with your kids, not scrolling the Twitters
Yeah.
and whatever. And then my phone is on do not disturb mode. So it's like if there's an emergency, I can use my phone. Or if there's something the kids really want to look up, it's possible.
Yeah.
Haven't turned it off. But I'm not allowing things to distract from my focus if at all possible.
Yeah.
Because hanging out with your kids is a multitasking minefield as well, right?
For sure.
And
But I
it's
hate
really
that feeling
important.
when you realize that your kid has said your name 3 times and you finally look up from your phone and like they want you to read them a book or something.
That's different. That's a different episode, Jim. That's a different episode though. That's the boy who cried wolf episode. Dad.
Yeah.
Dad.
What?
Yes, son. He's like, my feet have toenails.
Right.
And you're like, wait, did you just infringe on my attention to tell me that your feet had toenails, bro?
Oh, how often do you get this one though, Andrew? Where it's like, Dad. What? I mean, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Or I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot all the time. Yeah.
But why is that so annoying, right? That's just like a phone notification, but you really kind of do have to answer because maybe they're bleeding out.
Can't put your kids on Do Not Disturb. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't put your kids on Do Not Disturb, and they learn very quickly to abuse that, and they know it. Yeah, right? Let's go back to bagpiping.
Oh, yeah. This is a bagpiping show, right?
People fight me on this all the time. When we bagpipe, you must find a sacred bagpiping zone. Where it's set up for your bagpipes. And when you go in there, it really can be distraction free. That's the number one thing. And some people, live in an apartment where it's really impractical to play bagpipes. It's cool. You got to find a zone somehow, somewhere else. This is my bagpiping zone here. And I think I was bragging about this in the other episode, but my pipes are right there. And interestingly, the drone tops are not actually on the pipes right now. Because I went somewhere and so the pipes are just there. But even today, in this extreme case where my pipes aren't fully assembled, ready to go, I could be playing in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's my sort of special place. And the distractions are kind of at a minimum. I think if I were serious, I would want to maybe turn off all the screens so that they're not like in my view. Yeah. And then I could be practicing. And this is like a space that's built for ADD man. I don't know. They should have a superhero called ADD man, and it could be modeled after me. But yeah, this place is where I can come and either work on my business stuff or play my pipes with no distractions. Because I realize like what a downer that is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes sense. Like I've had things that I want to do in dedicated spaces where I've run out of spaces for them. And I think maybe a common tactic there is like, well, then pick maybe a city park or something like that. But also it could be same room in which you do all these other things, but maybe I only stand in this corner facing the wall when I play the bagpipes. So there's something to say, this is a thing I only do. I only sit in this chair when I'm going to do that thing, like dedicating spaces for things.
Yep. I like that quite a bit. That makes a lot of sense. And then the tools that you need for your task, which in this case is playing the bagpipes, don't let those tools be attached to distractors.
The phone apps being the strong example there.
Get a standalone. You can buy a nice standalone metronome that's its own machine. You can buy one for like $20 or something, and I highly recommend that, because in the time you locate that phone, the metronome app on your phone, you've already noticed that the 4 little red things on your phone that tell you have unread emails. You have to do that. And the recorder is another one. So I use recording all the time when I practice, and I have a standalone recorder. It's actually not where it should be right now. It's very naughty, but it's still here and it should be armed and ready to go, because that's a distraction too. If your recorder's not turned on yet, you hit stop all the presses so you can figure out, how do I turn this thing on again?
Yeah.
So I have a recorder. I mean, it's off season, Jim. Forgive me, everybody. Do as I say, not as I do. But the recorder is on the stand, armed and ready at all times. Its own special device. And that way I can get the recording done easy. And it's not going to, like, pressing one red button is not going to take me out of my focus.
Yeah.
But having to press several, right? Well, that's multitasking. That's infringing on my bandwidth and potentially completely derailing my flow.
You know, something I did for a while that I really want to get back to that I liked a lot, and had to change recently because my teenager needed a phone, but I just saved one of my old phones, like when I upgraded. And so then, like, my old phone was
no SIM card.
Yeah, no connection. I could hook it to Wi-Fi when I needed to, if I needed to transfer files or something, but by default, that was all turned off, which made the battery last a long time. But then that phone had all of my music apps on it, not just my bagpipe tuners and metronomes, but all of my music apps.
Yeah.
And it was also the device that I used with a Zoom mic to capture recordings and videos for social media as well.
Love
so
that.
All my social media stuff and stuff like that was on a separate machine even. And that phone stayed in this drawer right here, actually, and didn't have to go on my phone. I liked that. I missed that. I'm going back to that someday.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The phone, your main phone that has the SIM card in it, even with the Wi-Fi turned off, you're still getting notifications and messages from the internet because of your SIM card. The cool thing about a standalone thing is that you can turn off the Wi-Fi. Suddenly you have a device that's not hopefully going to distract you a million times while you're doing stuff. Yeah, just avoiding the multitasking is good, Jim.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't think about it. Oh, bagpiping's my hobby. I do this for fun. And so you don't want to take it too seriously, but boy, if you don't take getting rid of the distractions seriously, you're not going to make any headway. Can we talk about band practice? How many people bring their phones to the practice chair table at band practice? What the hell?
And sometimes they're pulling up music on it, which I'm like, okay, you can zoom in on something. Okay.
Perfect example. No music on your iPhone, you guys, or your iPad. I get it. Your iPad can be a cool tool. And then maybe if you literally turn it into airplane mode for practice, maybe. But like, just print out the music. I'm telling you, it seems old school. It seems dumb. It seems like you're going to have to buy printer ink, but it's worth it. For me, big time. I paper music. It's right there. Paper music. When it's time to learn a tune, you print it off because the paper's not going to distract you. The paper's got it. If I put the music on the computer, it's hopeless, man. It's not hopeless, but man, it's risky.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how many people, they got the music on the iPad, right?
Yeah.
You teach the dojo work, you teach a dojo workshop. The people have got the music on the iPad. And then what are they doing 7 minutes into the thing? They're chatting with their husband who he lost his insurance card. And I say the insurance card thing because it's always some random ass thing. And it's like, oh, geez, where is the insurance card? Now I got to think about that. It's never something easy. It's always something random. And now it's something random and you're thinking about that and you're not thinking about piping. Man, this episode's terrible, isn't it?
Well, it's a wonderful, terrible mess. But again, a good example of the value of staying focused, I guess.
Sometimes I think you just got to go with it though, Jim, because sometimes when you think an episode is terrible, people actually really liked it.
Yeah, you can trust the conversation to guide you somewhere that's good. Maybe this is too hard of a sudden jerk onto the path here, but you do in the course have bullet points that you provide.
Okay.
As like, here's a solid foundation for
Let's get this back on track.
Yeah. So this is called the big picture tactics.
Hang on 1 second. I just got a text. I'm just
Yeah.
joking.
So here we have big picture tactics to avoid distraction / multitasking.
Yes.
And it's straightforward. There's 4 bullet points here.
Okay.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Create that dedicated space.
Yeah.
It never gets disassembled.
Get that dedicated space, no matter how simple it is. We've got some incredible dedicated spaces at the dojo. People show up, and when they send in recordings, it's like Ben he's just got this magic bagpipe closet. It's a tiny thing. It doesn't look particularly comfortable, but it's where he goes to get the job done.
This little room that I'm sitting in is the shed behind my house. And I feel very lucky that I have a shed that I could do this to. But yeah, I've got my secret bagpipe closet in the backyard.
My shed is big, and I pay rent for it, but it's my business bagpipe studio, really. Yeah.
And I recognize how I'm very fortunate that I have that option. But again, make it the rug that you stand on when you practice or something. Some sort of like, this is my practice place. Bullet point number 2. If you must bring your smartphone / tablet / computer into your practice space, turn it to airplane mode and or disconnect it from Wi-Fi so that trivial calls, texts, notifications, etc. can't distract you. If you must.
If you must are the key words, aren't they? You're like, oh, I can bring my smartphone. No, dude, no. Only if you must. If you have a printer, print off your music. If you have $20, buy a metronome that stands alone, right? And same goes with the tuner. And then that's a whole nother if you must.
Yeah.
If you really must have a tuner, then get one that's not attached to your iPhone. Not because the iPhone apps aren't amazing. The iPhone tuner apps are great.
So handy.
I love them. They're awesome. I'm not dissing the apps. The apps are wonderful. That's probably why we want to use them so bad. It's the threat to your focus that's so important.
Yeah. 3rd bullet point. Teach family members and pets not to bother you while practicing.
Man, it's so important. I don't have pets for this reason.
So they don't bug you while you're playing.
They would infringe on my bagpiping. It was hard to talk me into having kids for the same reason. No, I'm joking.
But then when the kids are like, Dad, can we have a puppy? You're like, nope, because Daddy needs to play bagpipes.
Yeah, exactly. You like bagpipes, don't you, kids? So no pets.
Bagpipes are our pet.
It's sort of true, though, because our family, we like to travel and go places, and we want to travel and go places a little bit more than we want to have pets. So for us, it's a conscious decision not to have pets.
And there too, though, like you've mentioned before, if we're keeping our practice sessions short and focused, it's not that wild to say to the people and animals around us, I need 10 minutes.
Yeah, I need 10 minutes,
It's not that long.
And again, it goes back to keep your practice time very short, people. Yeah. This is one of the many reasons why. It's like sometimes the wife doesn't really want you spending 90 minutes practicing. She's got stuff she needs you to do. Yeah, because you're a lazy bum. And the real reason you've chosen now to practice is this is the bottleneck period of time during the day where it's
kids need help with homework. It's time to start making dinner. There's a load of laundry that needs folded. And I haven't played my bagpipes yet today. I'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. Punishment for interrupting me during my 15 minutes of practice time is going to be whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be bad. Do not interrupt me. Do not interrupt me. Recording in progress.
Yeah.
Put a red light on the door. That's like, no. And then kids, don't freaking bother me right now. And then, by the way, when you're done, it could be all kids. It can be. And
then you can focus on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Short, intense, highly focused practice sessions.
Yeah. And then 4th bullet point is play a simple instrument setup. See commandment number 2.
Oh, amen.
So that you can focus on playing instead of on fiddling with all of your gadgets.
Yep, exactly.
So those are the positives. Those are the things to focus on.
Yeah.
You also have 3 bullet points, which are the nitty-gritty practice tactics to avoid multitasking. Once we've got those 4 done, we're now practicing. Now, how do we not multitask within our practice?
Yes. Let's do that.
So bullet point number 1 is clearly define the one thing you want to focus on before you go into it.
You need to have, Jim, you need to somehow get angelic music.
I can do the angel light thing. Yeah. You bet.
Find the one thing.
Yeah.
Find the one thing, Jim.
And the examples you give here, you say, this could be something scientific, like avoiding a crossing noise from C to E. Or
that's probably not the one thing, but it could be.
It could be, maybe one time. Then you suggest it could be something more artistic, like smoothing out the dot cut contrast in phrase 2 of a specific tune. But whatever it is, pick it before you start and focus on that.
Find the one thing. It's hard. By the way, finding the one thing is hard. One thing the Dojo does better than any other teaching method I've ever seen, no offense to all the teaching methods I've ever seen, but we help you get to the one thing that you need to focus on that actually will give you that leverage that you need. Everything else, it tends to be just a wild crapshoot. And yeah, maybe over enough time you see improvement, but you really have to find the one thing that's important and just have fun and focus and work on that thing. And it might mean that the other things that do need some work, they don't get attention today.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're always doing the highest leverage activity you could be doing, that's what's going to make you improve.
Yeah.
At the optimal rate.
Bullet point 2 is related to this. It says practice in small pieces. Gradually build them up and string them together, but practice in small pieces, these little chunks.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then,
so, for example, if you have a part of a tune you have to learn, or let's say you have to learn a whole tune, well, we're going to start with the first phrase.
It can be so tempting to muddle your way through the whole thing.
Don't do that. Start with the first phrase. And that might be your entire practice session that's 10 or 15 minutes, is just jamming that one phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And it might seem weird, but remember, those phrases usually come back. Phrase 3 is often, if not absolutely the same as the first phrase, but it's often very similar. So do the work on that first phrase. It's going to pay off.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the second phrase, right? And then especially the ending phrase, you're going to see that 8 times throughout the course of the tune. Mm-hmm. Some people I know even start with the ending phrase, which I don't. I usually start with phrase 1. But some people even start with the ending phrase because they know it's the highest leverage piece of the tune they can learn, right? And there's usually so many similarities that it makes it so. Let's say, imagine if you had 10 practice sessions to really learn a tune better than you've ever played a tune before in your life. Would it be worth it? Hell yeah.
So
and that's usually what it takes. Just about 10 if you do it well. And then meanwhile, if you do it the old way, you'll have 100 practice sessions and you'll learn the tune approximately to the same standard you've learned all the other tunes. Which one sounds better to you?
The 10 focused sessions for sure. And I'm kicking myself mentally.
And maybe you think I'm full of crap. By the way, I challenge you to call my bluff.
It's only 10 sessions. Give it a try.
It's only 10 sessions. I challenge you to say, Andrew, you're so full of it. Show me 10 10-minute, truly unfocused sessions where we're working on small pieces of the tune at a time.
Yeah.
Lee McLeod is a guy at the Dojo. He teaches some beginner classes and he's a longtime student of the Dojo. He's been there since the beginning. I remember one time he tried to call my bluff and it completely changed the trajectory of his piping career, man. He was like, I have to admit, I sat down trying to prove you're a big a-hole and you don't know what you're talking about. And I built up the tune in tiny little pods and built it up just like you said, Andrew. And now the tune sounded like 2 grade levels higher than anything he's played before. Yes, exactly. But by the way, I'm not teasing though, because it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
To clear that space and to really get down to work and get over that initial hump of the fact that at the beginning, that's when it's going to be the hardest.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do. It's no joke. So I apologize for being teasing.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm right there myself, where there are tunes that I've worked on or wanted to work on literally for years. And there are just a couple of little tiny pockets I can think of where I just got enough gumption or something and I focused for a few sessions and I learned that fun tune. And so now I have 2 or 3 really fun tunes and I'm happy I have them. And I think to myself, man, I would love to have more fun tunes. And I know that the truth is, it didn't take that many sessions once I actually started focusing on these tunes that I have. Yeah. That's all I got to do again. Why can't I get myself to do it? That's
I know.
Trick. Yeah.
It's tough. By the way, the hard practice sessions often, not always, they often spiral into fun dessert sessions, which we're going to talk about later in the commandments. But remember, it's like 10 minutes of focused work. I get it. That sounds hard and sounds like a lot of work, and bagpiping is what you do for a hobby. I'm talking about 10 minutes of focused work, and then you can have all the dessert you want.
That's an important thing to clarify. Yes, you're right, Andrew, because I definitely can see how this could all sound like, why would I do this? It sounds like you're trying to ruin my fun hobby. It's like, to be clear, these work things are what Andrew is talking about doing for 10 minutes of focus. Yeah. And then that makes it so you can have even more fun for the rest of the time that you're playing. This isn't like make your whole life hard work.
It only seems not fun. And then once you start to realize how much this sort of activity is yielding a positive result, pretty soon it flips. And it's like the dessert, it's not that interesting to you anymore. It's like those freaks who enjoy working out or going for a run.
Yeah. I wish I could be that kind of weird.
You could be probably if you followed similar advice for your working out that you do. Like how many people think like, oh, I'm out of shape. I better go run 5K. It's like, whoa, bro. No,
Yeah.
don't do that. Go run around the block.
Yeah.
And do that.
A 10-minute focused session.
Go run around the block. And then if you're feeling great, do another loop. And that would be a great start. And it can balloon out from there. And who knows, maybe in 2 years, you'll love running. And if you don't run 10K a day, your life just doesn't have meaning anymore.
Yeah.
But you got to build up to it. Okay. Is there a final bullet point?
Yeah, the last bullet point was just be ready, able, and willing to simplify your music so that you can zero in on the higher priority fundamentals instead of getting distracted by the icing on the cake, you say.
Yes, exactly.
And that does come up in a later commandment too, focused in more on simplifying music. But yeah.
You got to put down the ducky if you want to play rock and roll, Jim.
Yeah, that phrase.
Embellishments, bagpipe tuners, and moisture control systems, right? Those are the duckies. And your iPhone.
Yeah,
put that down. But put down those duckies and so that you can play rock and roll. And it's not that they're not great products. Like, it's so tedious. Oh, Andrew hates moisture control systems. I don't hate them. I use them. But like, to see the progress you want to see, for most people, the prescription is set those aside for a little while. Put yourself in the position to be successful. That's step one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally makes sense. Stop building up your skill set in managing moisture control systems and instead build up your skill set in playing bagpipes.
Yep. It's like the Dave Ramsey method. It's like step one is cut up those credit cards, dude. It's like that. Can credit cards be useful? Yeah. But like right now, no. We don't need that right now.
It could also be like the Tommy Boy method, which is step one, identify what that smell is. Step two, wash it off.
Exactly. Yeah. Identify what that smell. That smell is the stink of digital
the stink of failure.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Oh, well.
Yeah. But anyway, we're probably barking up the wrong tree there. Right at the end of the episode, everybody loves that. This episode, Jim, was brought to you by the dangers of multitasking.
Yeah.
And just don't do that. What's an action item people can do? Think about building that dedicated practice space.
Whatever that looks like. Yep.
Think about absolutely minimizing the role of that iPhone or any other distraction generating device in that space. And then start to do 10-minute uninterrupted sessions.
Yeah. Just take a deep breath and dive in for just 10 minutes.
Yep. That would go a long way. And maybe you go minimum 5 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
Maximum 10 minutes. Do not do more than 10 minutes of that focus.
Yeah, that might be likely to yield the result that, like, at the end of 10 minutes, you're like, I could go longer.
You should, but maybe maybe after 10 minutes, you don't worry about anything at all in the whole universe. If you get distracted, no problem. If the dog wants some chow, give him some chow.
Yeah.
Chow, that's an old word for food. Young people.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the kid wants to read a book, stop playing and go read a book or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like 10 minutes maximum.
Yeah.
And do that until it's so easy. And then maybe you can build up to 15 minutes max over time. But keep it small, keep it manageable, keep it something that you can do every day or 6 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah, and that has that positive feedback thing of, well, you did it, and so then you feel good, and you're excited to do it again the next day.
Exactly. The moment you do a 30-minute session, okay, maybe that session was great, but now it's like, geez, now if I do 10 minutes tomorrow, it doesn't feel good.
Now I'm a loser if I'm only doing 10 minutes. Yeah, you got to avoid that trap.
Jack Lee does like a full hour every day. I got to be like Jack Lee. It's like, first of all, if that's true, Jack has built up that sort of like focus stamina over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of I love how I'm really good at grouping myself in with famous pipers. You ever notice that? A lot of us have built but we've built our lives around piping. So of course for us, it's a little bit more. Don't forget that, right? Yes, Jack Lee maybe does practice that long, but like that's his life and his career. You don't need that for starters. You need to teach yourself to get into focus mode and to enjoy piping and to see some really positive results.
And 10 minutes is pretty awesome, actually. You just pull that off.
And I think it can be done in 10 solid minutes a day.
Hey everybody, Andrew Douglas here from the Kuypers Dojo, and I just want to say thanks so much for listening to today's iteration of the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, it would be super helpful to us and to a lot of bagpipers out there trying to find us. If you could give us a top-notch review on whatever platform you're using to listen to this podcast, particularly Apple, iTunes, and Spotify and things like that, your review would be really, really helpful. So if you have a moment today, definitely go over there and help us out. Other than that, until we meet again on the podcast or somewhere else, thanks again for listening.